want you to live the life you were meant to live. Some of you are not transitioning because you're okay with the life you have. And I'm telling you, when I walk out, I want to be an example of you can start from wherever and get to wherever you want to get to. That's what I'm asking you to do. What fuels you? The reason why you're so lazy is not because you don't have the ability. You're so lazy because your dream's so small.
Everybody sees people who look great, who have all the confidence, who have all the self-esteem, who have all this ability, who have all these things going for them, and they think they got it all figured out. They think it's easy for them, and that's one of the justifications that they tell themselves, all right? It's not like there aren't days I don't want to go to the gym. The truth is, most of the days I don't want to go to the gym, but I do, even though I don't feel like it. It doesn't matter if there's a fucking tornado, if there's a snowstorm, if there's a hurricane, if the fucking world is on fire, the job has to get done. It's about executing regardless of your emotions.
You're waiting for all the situations to come together perfectly, and I'm telling you, you cannot wait. You got to start working right now.
To take that first step towards greatness is very hard. That's the hardest step we're going to do, that first step, right? That first step towards greatness is hard. What's a lot harder, when time expires in life, you look back on your life, knowing you could have been great. That's something you can't control anymore, times run out. But if you don't believe you can do it, don't even start the journey. It's too hard. It's a winnable, easy war. But if you don't believe it, then don't do it.
Every single day of my life, I feel like giving 100%. Every single day. Somebody said yesterday, each you gave 120. What you gonna do tomorrow? I said, I don't know. Give 140. I don't know, but I don't have days where I don't feel like it. Why? Because I'm counting on me. My wife's counting on me. My son's counting on me. I don't have days to wait.
Will there be some times that you want to give up? Yes. When you get into a tight spot and everything goes against you until it seems that you cannot hold on for a minute longer, never give up then, for that is just the place and time that the tide will turn. Never give up then, and that is so important. When you're working on doing the things you want to do and fulfilling your dream, and things happen, there are times when your energy feels so depleted that you want to give up, that it looks just totally impossible. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, don't give up then. That's when you've got to fall forward, when life is kicking dirt in your face. Don't give up then. That's when most people turn back. If you've decided that this is what you want to do, you've got to become courageous to stand up within yourself, to face it and step forward.
The biggest thing that always troubled me was my imagination, because it was so big when I was a kid. You know, I grew up poor, but I was always imagining stuff. You know, my mama, once a month, would buy a travel magazine at the grocery store. My father used to be so pissed off. Bill, why we spending this money? We were poor. She said, Slick, we ain't got no money to take this boy nowhere. But if he can look in these magazines, maybe one day, it'll cause him to want to travel. I've been to so many countries around the world because of that magazine. I just wanted to go see stuff. My mama had enough sense to plant that seed. It's like at Christmas time, we used to get in the car, and my daddy used to take us to the suburbs so we could see the lights. And you know, we just drove around the lights. I was amazed at the suburbs because I would see these big houses with horseshoe driveways where you drove in and came out the other side. So I told my daddy one time we was riding, I said, Daddy, why don't we get one of them houses? He said, boy, I ain't got no money for that, but that's what I'm bringing you out here for. She said, one day you'll be able to get one of them houses. Let me explain something to you. Because of that right there, I've probably had in my lifetime now about 11 homes. I got 4 now in different states. Every house I own got a horseshoe driveway. Somebody was talking on the phone with that cord on the wall and got sick of it and said, you know what, man, if I could just go outside and talk on the phone, ta-da, we got cell phones. Somebody got tired of driving across the country and said, man, if I could fly over there, boom, we got airplanes. Imagination is everything. It's a preview to life's coming attractions. Everything you've ever imagined is real. It is impossible for you to think an impossible thought. That is impossible. You can't think something that ain't possible. You ain't that smart. So if it's in your head, you gotta ask yourself, how did it get there? That's God showing you a preview of a coming attraction he has for you. The problem with most people is you think your imagination is hocus pocus. It's really not. It's a preview of a coming attraction. If you react to your imagination, that's where your real life is. It's just God showing you what he has for you.
And so they go through life holding back on life, not understanding this also, that what you hold back from life, life holds back from you. So most of us go through life, ladies and gentlemen, not giving, and we're cheating ourselves, and you're also cheating life.
One of the things you see with people all the time is that maybe they're trying to stumble forward towards their ideal, as poorly defined as it might be, but then they're afraid, right? They're afraid about what they might encounter, and that stops them, because fear does stop people. It freezes you like a prey animal, and so people move ahead, but then they get afraid, and then they stop moving ahead. And that's not so good, because negative emotion is a really powerful motivator. So we're more motivated by negative emotion than positive emotion.
All right, now here's my last point about failure. Sometimes it's the best way to figure out where you're going. Your life will never be a straight path. You'll see what I mean about taking risks or being willing to fail. Because taking risk is not just about going for a job. It's also about knowing what you know and what you don't know. It's about being open to people and to ideas.
Somewhere along the way, they've lost the ability to focus on the things they are great at, stacking those promises they're making themselves. And the way I get them to break their slump is not correcting their swing or getting them positive. It's getting them to acknowledge the small promises, showing up the batting practice, or getting that extra bucket of balls, beginning to reward themselves for the extra promises they keep to themselves, puts them back in a state of self-confidence. All of a sudden, they're hitting the ball great.
The word we use for this, for short, is we call it sensory acuity. Sensory acuity is the idea that you want to become acutely sensitive to whether what you're doing is working or not. You don't want to just say, okay, I know what I want, I know why I want it, I'm going to make it happen, this is how I'm going to do it. You keep hammering it, doing something that doesn't work. People do this all the time, right? Do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. It's called insanity. You can't do the same thing again and again, expect a different result. See, it doesn't get the result.
Does this mean it's always going to be like that? Not at all. Why? The longer you're in business, you eventually find a group of people that buy into you. You eventually find a group of people that understand how consistent you are. You eventually find a group of people that want to be in business with you forever. You eventually find a group of people that like your style. You eventually find a group of people that like your vision, your crusade, your cause, your mission, and your vision is so big that other people's vision also fits into it. But it won't happen right off the bat. What happens if they change their minds? Do you also change your mind? What happens if they say no? Do you also get down on yourself and say, oh my gosh, I don't have the business for me? No. Don't let other people's emotions and decisions and constant changing their minds dictate your mind.
I mean, you know in your bones that you're going to make it out. And I think that's something that was a little different about me. It was like in that hole as advisors were saying, look, just go BK and 7 years from now you can walk away from it. I just knew I would fight my way out of it. And I didn't have to convince myself or anybody else.
There's always more room to grow. There's always more knowledge to gain, always more skills to perfect. We're never done with the education process because education is part of the path to wealth. Education and learning is part of the path to health. Continued education can turn you around if you're headed in the wrong direction. We need the mental food that others provide. We need mental exercise. We need to open up our minds to different alternatives. We need to learn to appreciate the other side of the debate so that we can strengthen our own and defend our own. We need to expose ourselves to a wide range of thoughts and philosophies and ideologies. You've got to listen to a variety of speakers, read a variety of books. No one speaker has all the answers for you. No one book has all the answers. You can't get all the answers from one person. We need a variety of influence to give us input, to give us ideas, to manage our business, to manage our relationships, to manage our finances, to take advantage of our time. We need a variety of influences. We need a variety of books in our library. We need a variety of tapes in our video library, our audio library. We need a variety of voices. And here's what else we need. We need a variety of points of view. Points of view can be so valuable. Somebody says, "Did you ever see it from over here?" And you say, "No." So you step over there where they are and you take a look back over here from their point of view. And you say, "My gosh, I never thought from this perspective. It's so different. No wonder you think the way you do." Here's the clue. Take advantage of all that's available in terms of mental food and mental exercise. Be eager to learn. Always be eager to learn, no matter how far along you are in the journey, no matter where you are in your success. Keep that eagerness to learn. Gather up as much knowledge as you can. And then what? Debate it. Put it all on the table and look at it. Dissect it. Turn it around and stare at it. Ask questions. Make statements. Don't take it for granted that one person has all the answers you're looking for. Take their knowledge, but don't take it as the only knowledge. Make sure that what you finally do, the model you develop of strong appreciation for your own style and your own methods and your own process for achievement, make sure that what you finally do is a product of your own conclusion. That's what's valuable. Not to just go do what someone says without debating it. Consider the source and then do it your way. You can take an interest in what someone says, digest it, take notes on it, but then debate it. Look at it from all angles. Be a student, not a follower. Building your ambition is a process unique to each and every one of us. Gather all the knowledge that you can. Then develop your approach as a product of your own conclusions. Your own conclusions, not someone else's conclusions. Your own conclusions. You can't fall for other people's philosophies. They may not be right. As you collect knowledge, you must sort through it and find out what's valuable. Then you can develop your own philosophy. And your own philosophy becomes the most important of your guidance systems, one of your guiding lights. So develop your own plan, lest you get into trouble with someone else's. And debate the plans of others, the philosophies of others, the achievement styles of others, the way others appreciate themselves. Debate all this. Why? Because it affects everything. The value you place on your plan, the value you place on yourself, the value you place on life in general affects everything around you. It even affects how you respect time, the 24 hours a day given to each of us to do with as we please. There's a connection between appreciating yourself and appreciating and respecting time. People who appreciate themselves understand and respect the use of time. Here's what I call the best-kept secret of the rich. Interesting discovery that I made one day. I couldn't believe it when I found out that rich people have about 24 hours a day, and poor people have about 24 hours a day. Wouldn't that drive you mad until you found out what the difference was? I'm telling you, the difference is in the management of the time. A few simple disciplines practiced every day, and your whole life can change. Your future can change. Your income can change.
When they was living, they told me one time, they was sitting up watching TV. My daddy looked at my mama and said, "Bill," he called my mama Bill, and said, "Can you believe that this little boy we had on TV?" She said, "Slick, I can't believe this." I used to send my daddy $5,000 a week. You know, when I first got on TV, I was making $55,000 a week, so I sent my mama there $5,000 a week. When I got into Kings of Comedy, my father was still living. I showed my daddy one time how much money I made. He said, boy, it take me 4 years to make this kind of money. So I was able to give them something with my life. I always wanted God to just lift me up so before my mom and them left this world, I could give them something. I bought them everything, man, houses, cars, furniture. I bought them everything I could think. Try. I'm 62 years old. I still want them to be proud of me. I'm still hoping that they in heaven watching me. And they see me turn into something. That's all I ever wanted. It was in my imagination to take care of me. Everything that's in your imagination, God gonna make it come true for you. You just got to believe that. God make dreams come true. He take poor kids with speech impediments and put them all over TV. If God can do that for me, explain to me how he can't do it for you. You just got to believe, man. Don't ever give up and keep believing, because God is real. Don't you listen to nobody telling you God ain't real.
You can learn from negative as well as positive. The Bible is such a great book because it is a collection of human stories on both sides of the ledger. One list of human stories is called examples. Do what these people did. And the other list of human stories is called warnings. Don't do what these clods did. What a wealth of information. What to do and what not to do. I think it also means, however, that if your story ever gets in somebody's book, make sure they use it as an example, not a warning. All the successful people I know and work with around the world are good readers. They just read. They are so curious that they are driven to read because they just have to know. It is one of the things they all have in common. Here's a good phrase: all leaders are readers. And they use cassette programs too, especially while they're in the car or during other times when they can't read. Cassettes can help all of us easily pick up new ideas and new skills. Did you know there are cassettes and books on how to be stronger, more decisive, a better speaker, a more effective leader, have a better effect on other people, become more loving, develop personality, get rich, develop influence, become sophisticated, and people don't use them? How would you explain that? Did you know that hundreds of successful people have written their stories in books and told how they did it on cassettes like this, and people don't want to listen? How would you explain that? The guy's busy, I guess. He says, well, yeah, if you worked where I work, by the time you struggle home, it's late. You've got to have a bite to eat, watch a little TV, and get to bed. You can't stay up half the night and read. And this is the guy that's behind on his bills. He's a good worker, hard worker, sincere. But remember, you can be sincere and work hard all your life and wind up broke, confused, and embarrassed. You've got to be better than a good worker. You've got to be a good reader, a good listener. At least you could hear a good cassette on the way home, right? Now, you don't have to read or listen to educational cassettes half the night. Although if you're broke, it's a good place to start. But here is all I ask, just 30 minutes a day. That's all. Stretch it to an hour if you can, but at least 30 minutes. Hear or read something challenging, something instructional, at least 30 minutes a day. And here's the next key. Every day. Don't miss. Miss a meal, but not your 30 minutes. Hey, you can get along without some meals, but you can't get along without some ideas, examples, and inspiration. There's a Bible phrase that says, humans cannot live on bread alone, or food alone. It says the next most important thing to bread is words. Words nourish the mind. Words nourish the soul. Humans have to have food and words to be healthy and prosperous. Make sure you have a good diet of words every day. I told my staff one day, some people read so little they have rickets of the mind. And also remember, to properly feed the mind, you must have good balance. Don't just read or listen to the easy stuff. You can't live on mental candy. Here is a thought. Why not call good books and cassettes tapping the treasure of ideas? That's it. Tapping the treasure of ideas, like you're doing with this program. And if somebody's got a good excuse for not tapping the treasure of ideas for at least 30 minutes every day, or spending the money and getting the books and cassettes, I'd like to hear it. Invest the money. Get the cassettes and books. The best money you can spend is money invested in your self-education. Don't shortchange yourself when it comes to investing in your own better future.
Let me tell you the problem with your imagination. The problem with your imagination is you tell it to the wrong people. If you want to kill a big dream, tell it to a small-minded person. Do you know how many times God has showed you something in your imagination that you knew was just for you? You were so excited when it came to you, you went and you shared it with your family and friends. You know what they did? They shot it down. You know why they shot it down? Because they couldn't see it. You know why they couldn't see it? Because God didn't show it to them. He showed it to you. He showed you the evidence of things not seen. See, they might love you, but they don't know what God gonna do for you. My teacher thought she was sparing me. Take your stupid self up there and try to audition for TV with this stuttering problem. She thought she was saving me. She might have even meant well, but she didn't know though. See, your mama and them, your cousin and them, your friends, they don't know. See, you gotta be careful when you share your imagination with small-minded people. Nobody else can see your imagination but you. But see, it ain't just you imagining stuff. It's your God showing you a preview of a coming attraction that he has for you.
If I'm manipulating you, I'm trying to get you to do something. If I'm leading you, I'm trying to get you to do something. And many of the tools are very similar. So what's the difference between me leading you and me manipulating you? It's very easy for me to answer that question. If I'm manipulating you, I'm trying to get you to do something that's going to benefit me. If I'm leading, I'm trying to get you to do something that's going to benefit you, it's going to benefit the team, and it's going to benefit the mission. So for me, those are too easy. Those are too easy. It's real obvious. And by the way, if I'm a manipulator, I can get away with that for a little while, but eventually you're going to look at me for what I am. You're going to see that the maneuvers I'm making, the tools I'm using, I'm utilizing those tools for my own benefit. And as soon as you see that, you won't fully support me. You won't. The same goes for when I'm trying to make you do something good for yourself and for the team. You're going to see that too. And you're going to say, he actually cares about me. That's what he's doing this for. And when you know I care about you, you'll do anything for me. I mean, that's what it boils down to. Oh, I want to give you hard criticism. How do I give you hard criticism? The first thing I have to do is make sure that you understand I care about you. Which is not easy to do. And it's not always obvious. But if you know that more than anything else, what I want is for you to be successful, when I say, hey Tom, I'm looking at the outcome of the last project and you were 3 weeks past the time. I think there's some things that we can do to kind of make you a little bit more efficient in leading these things. If you know that my number one thing is that I care about you, you're gonna be all ears. To an extent. Because guess what percentage of the world is truly open for criticism? Oh, it's tiny. There's so few people that are truly open to criticism.
I sometimes think that the bigger regrets in life are all those things that I know I should have done. Those moments that I should have stepped out of faith, those moments that I should have been courageous, those moments that I should have walked in confidence, those moments that I should have stepped out, but instead I shrinked back in fear. Because it's not just the bad things that I've done, but rather it's the good things that I haven't done. See, every one of us in here, we will fall short and do something wrong. The question is, which ones of us in here will actually stand firm and do something right?
That you're not afraid to recreate yourself, that you're not afraid to be adventurous, that you're not afraid to be back at 1 again, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 is 1 again on the next level. 21 is 1 again on the next level. 51 is 1 again on the next level. And some people don't grow because they're not willing to give up the 10 to be 1 again.
The depth of your past is an indication of the height of your future. When construction workers are going to build a big skyscraper, they first have to dig down deep and lay a foundation. The taller the building, the deeper the foundation. You may have gone through or be in an unfair situation. A friend betrayed you, lost a loved one. Be easy to settle there and get discouraged. You may be low right now, but God's getting you in position to rise higher. There are new levels in front of you. New levels of joy. New levels of influence. New relationships. New opportunities right in your future.
And if you're not willing to give up the 10, you'll stay where you are for the prestige of having reached 10. And not willing to go back to 1 again, you failed to grow to what your capacity was meant to be because you don't want to be a sophomore once you've been a senior. You don't want to say, I don't know again. You don't want to do anything that's out of your comfort zone again. You don't want to go into the unfamiliar again, and you stop growing because you stop going. In order to keep growing, you have to keep going. And you cannot love the prestige of 10 to the degree that you fail to come to 11. 11 puts you in a room with 20s. And some people can't stand to be in a room with 20s once they have reached 10. They'd rather be a big fish in a small pond than to swim into a bigger stream and be surrounded by whales and sharks and all that kind of stuff. They like image more than reality.
You're going to need to step out in faith. You're going to need to put your foot in the water. You're going to have to maybe say goodbye to some stuff. Some of you have no idea what God would do for you, and the only way you're ever going to know is to step out and find out. You say, well, what does that mean? Well, I mean, let's just say that you hate your job. I mean, all you do is complain about it. You don't like it. You don't like the people. You don't like the work. And you've really got something else in your heart that you'd love to do. But you live in fear that if you give that up, you might not have anything. Yeah, see, walking by faith, living by faith, the just shall live by faith. That means everything is a step of faith. And sometimes it's comfortable and you've got all the details in place, but very rarely. Most of the time, if you're going to live by faith, if you want to really find out what God can do for you, you are going to have to, so to speak, take a chance.
And sometimes you're barely making any progress. Sometimes you're barely making any progress at all. And that tough situation is making you want to stop. And what you eventually learn is you can't stop. When you're going through tough situations, you got to take that next step. You got to keep moving forward. We're going through a pretty tough situation right now in a lot of different ways. Take that next step. Keep moving forward.
Because we get so distracted with stuff that we're never going to be remembered for. Stuff that we're never going to actually be celebrated for. The truth is that we want to come to the end of our life and we want to be able to declare no regrets. Yet what psychologists would tell us and what they would show us is that regret is probably the most common negative emotion that people experience. The moment you can say, if only, is the moment you step into regret. You ever found yourself doing this? If only I'd gotten that job. If only I hadn't gotten hurt. If only I'd gone to that school. If only I would have gotten that job. If only I would have married her. If only I wouldn't have married him. And we spend so much time trying to rewrite history that we never actually focus on the cards that we are dealt. So often it can be so counterproductive. Life is gonna always have moments that there's opportunities for regret. And the feeling of regret is not the worst part. It's really, what's the next thing you think about after you experience regret? Because regret will come. The question is, what do you do after that moment of regret? Because it really only becomes toxic when regret becomes habitual. See, I think what makes you and I different as human beings is that we have the ability to respond. You would call that responsibility. That you and I can choose and we can determine and define our reaction. That yes, we will make mistakes, and yes, challenges will come, and yes, there will be these moments that we want to rewrite history. But I'm telling you tonight that if you'll choose your response, if you'll decide now that I'm going to react the right way, you can actually learn and grow from your moments and your mistakes.
I trust God. I lean on God. I trust God for wisdom. I trust God to show me what to do when I don't know what to do. I trust God for my deliverance. I trust God for my peace. I trust God for my healing more than I do the doctor. I trust God for my rest. I trust God to show me how to live life every day. I trust God that I'm not going to go crazy. I trust God that I won't be sick and end up dying before my time. I trust God that he'll protect me when I'm flying over the oceans of the world. I trust God. I lean on him because no man, no person, no system, no thing, no amount of money, none of that will be able to do you like God will. And I put my trust in him.
Begin today that you were born to do something great with your life. That you're extraordinary. Listen to me. That you're enough. That you're special. That you're favored, regardless of where you come from. But every day, some of us are killing ourselves with the shame we carry from something we've done, some humiliation, some fear. Every day that tells us we're not enough. We're not strong enough, pretty enough, smart enough, favored enough. That we're doomed, and we carry these guns in our head every day that shame us, that take our confidence from us, that steal our joy. You can put those things down in your life. You could decide today that you were born to do something great. You could decide today, just intentionally, to set this weapon down, whatever it is, something you're just not proud of that you've done. Set it down. Stop using it as a weapon against yourself and realize that happened for you and not to you.
Life is a menu. Whoever and whatever you order for your life is what's going to be delivered to the table. Who do I want and what do I want for my day? Most of us could find ourselves doing things because we have a guilty conscience. I've learned to compartmentalize. I've learned to take control of my minute, my hour, my day, my week, my month, and my year. How can you have control? You have control. If you already know what he's going to do to your day from that text message or that phone call, why don't you block him? Why are you giving this person emotional access to you? Why are you continuing to call him or her back? Do you have validation issues? Where you need the validation of all of these people around you. You got to be busy. You got to be in the mix. It makes you feel accepted. Because you're the loudest person in the club doesn't mean that you're really having fun. Because you're pulling up in the nicest car doesn't mean you actually have gas money.
Here's what's important. Debate all major issues. Some issues are, sort of obvious. Say, well, I can see the positive side of that right away. But some need discussion. Now here's what's valuable, to discuss some things with someone else. Debate back and forth. So here's what's important, is to debate the major life issues. In good health today, the great debate is on, which has given us advances we've never had before. So here's what you must be, though, in the debate: a good student. Open to learning, defending and learning. It's important not just to defend and learn. Defend your point of view until it's sort of obvious that you've got to give some ground here because you haven't done your research. But this debating is important. We have to debate the health issues. One health book says, do this, you'll live forever. The second health book says, if you do that, you'll die young. So here's what we should do. Make the note. Be a student, not a follower. Every day in 1,000 different ways, we are trying to improve ourselves by learning how to do things. We spend a lifetime gathering knowledge in classrooms, in textbooks, in experiences. Now, if knowledge is power, if knowledge is the forerunner to success, then why do we fall short of our objectives? Why, in spite of all our knowledge and in spite of our collective experiences, do we find ourselves aimlessly wandering, settling for a life of existence rather than a life of substance? While there may be many answers to this question, the fundamental answer is the absence of discipline. Applying all that we know. That's the key word, discipline, self-discipline. We might add one more word here, consistent. Consistent self-discipline. Better than knowledge is applied knowledge. And once we've applied our knowledge, we must study the results of that process. Apply our knowledge, study the results. Refine our approach. Finally, by trying and observing and refining and trying again, our knowledge will inevitably produce worthy results, admirable results. And with the joy and results of our efforts, we continue to apply, to learn, to observe, to fuel our ambition with the positive reinforcement of continued progress. Pretty soon, we'll find that we're swept into a spiral of achievement, a vertical rise to success.
Discipline is the root of all good qualities, but you have to absolutely apply it to things outside of just waking up early. It's everything. It's working out every day, making yourself stronger and faster and more flexible and healthier. Discipline is eating the right foods to fuel your system. It's about disciplining your emotions so you can make good decisions. It's about having the discipline to control your ego so your ego doesn't get out of hand and control you. It's about treating people the way you would want to be treated. And doing the tasks that you don't necessarily want to do, but that you know will help you or help your team. It's about facing your fears. It takes discipline to face your fears so you can conquer them. And that's what discipline is. Discipline means taking the hard road, the uphill road, to do what's right for yourself and for other people. It's so often the easy path that calls to us to be weak for that moment, to break down for that moment, to give in to the desire and the short-term gratification. But the discipline will not allow that. The discipline calls for strength and fortitude and will. It won't accept weakness. It won't tolerate another breakdown. The discipline can seem like it's your worst enemy. But the reality is, discipline is your best friend. It will take care of you like nothing else can. And it'll put you on that path. The path to strength and health and intelligence and happiness. And most importantly, it'll put you on that path to freedom.
Simple part that most people don't understand is that every thought we think and every word we speak is creating our future. It's as though our thoughts go out into the universe and are accepted and brought back to us as experience. Now that is a very simple thing, but most people don't get it. They don't understand it. They've never heard it before and they think it's ridiculous. But if you can really accept the fact that every time you think a thought and every time you speak a word, you are literally painting your future, making your dinner, whatever you want to call it. You are creating, and you're creating your own life. And this is simple, but it's not easy to accept. But once you accept it, then you can start deliberately creating what you want in your life. And you begin to be aware of what you don't want in your life and how you are contributing to it. Now, I think this has been around forever, but for some reason in the last 20 years, the universe has wanted this to go out among all the people, or all the people that are ready for it. See, most of us just think, and we don't pay any attention to what we're thinking. We're just doing it. But that's something you need to train yourself to do, to begin to train yourself to be aware of what you're thinking. And one of the ways to do that is to periodically say to yourself, what am I thinking? Would I like this thought to create my life? Would I like to have the experience that this thought could bring to me? Now, it takes a while to do that, but even if we could begin on the smallest level to be aware of our thinking, we can start to make changes.
I love talking about discipline because I think so many people, that word has such a negative connotation around it, right? It just sounds bad. Discipline, like you're going to feel pain or someone's going to hurt you or you're in trouble for something. And I want to start having you think about it in a really positive way, because discipline equals freedom. 100%. It has been the theme throughout my entire life, is how if you have structured discipline in your life and you start doing the things that you don't want to do, especially if you do them first, you are absolutely going to free yourself of all of the different pain that comes with not getting your goals accomplished, that comes with not taking care of yourself, that comes with living with regret. So before, way back in my early 20s, and even through my mid 20s, when I would, I was trying to create habits around maybe eating right, or habits around working out. And let me tell you, habits around getting stuff done. I literally in my head told myself all the time, my mantra at the time was, I never finish anything. So what do you think I did? I finished nothing, because that's literally how I talk to myself. Well, I never finished anything. This is another thing I didn't finish. So I had to switch that mantra around, and it was also realizing how important discipline was and how much freedom came with it. And I spent a lot of time living in agony in my head, and I was tired all the time because I spent more of my time in my brain thinking about what I didn't do and arguing with myself all day long. Am I going to go to the gym? I don't want to go to the gym. You should go to the gym. Why aren't you going to the gym? You know you need to go to the gym. You're never going to get to your goals. It's like I was drained just because of the conversations I was having with myself. If I would have just gotten disciplined, committed to a time, or knew I was going, I could have focused on all of the other good things that were happening in my life and just knew this is what I'm doing. It's like just saying, okay, well, here's what I'm doing so I can forget about it until the moment that it comes, and I'm going to do it because I'm committing, truly committing to discipline, and how freeing that is. And when I started getting a great discipline habit around all of the things that I wanted to do, I started to notice how much more free I felt, how much less anxiety I felt, how when my head hit the pillow, I felt proud instead of another day just went by that I'm further away from my goals and I have regret and I'm feeling my life race by me, right? Those are all feelings that do not feel good, that discipline can free you from.
Do you plan your day much, or your time generally? Does this lead to higher productivity? Yes, I plan my day obsessively. My calendar is always absolutely full, and often weeks in advance. And I plan in the morning, especially when I'm on top of things. And I plan each hour, and I probably plan each minute. And yes, it leads to way higher productivity. You decide what your goals are going to be. You place them in the calendar. Use the calendar as your friend, because what you want to do with the calendar is design a day that you want to have, or a day that would be good for you. And a day that would be good for you is one that you're when you end the day, you feel that you've moved yourself ahead towards your valued goals, and that you've kept chaos under control. And that enables you to sleep soundly and with a good conscience, and to know that the next day is going to be at least not worse than that day. Planning is unbelievably useful. And again, I don't want to sound like a broken record with regards to the future authoring program, but it really is useful. You need to figure out what it is that you're aiming at and why, and then you need to figure out how you're going to break that down over the months and the weeks and the days. But I would approach your calendar like it's your best friend. You think, okay, I'm going to design a week, man, that I really want to have. And that means you can schedule in leisure and all the things that you want to do, which you absolutely should do. And it's also quite fun to give yourself minimal time to do something complicated, because it's quite challenging to see if you can do far more than you thought in far less time. And so that's a fun game. And the other thing you can do is, like, if you're avoiding something, you could schedule in 5 minutes of it. Say, well, like if you're avoiding looking at some bills because you're afraid of them, your first step might be to schedule in 5 minutes where you just look at the bill. You don't do anything else. And, you might be able to entice yourself into doing that. So, but I would say learning to plan is unbelievably useful, to schedule your time, because that's your life, but schedule the life you want. That means you have to schedule your responsibilities obviously, because responsibilities are those things that ruin your life if you don't fulfill them.